This is 2.3, day 1, part 3. We're using long division again. You guys should be experts at this. This one is going to have a remainder this time, so it's a new type. So you might want to write it down, and then you can kind of get some more practice. I'll leave it up to you. So now we have a quartic dividing a quadratic. Look to see that you have all your placeholders underneath that division symbol. You have x to the 4th, you have x cubed, you have x squared, you have x and its constant, so it's set to go. Now we're going to go ahead and divide, looking at the first two terms, x squared and 2x to the 4th. So off to the side, 2x to the 4th divided by x squared. What am I left with? Left with 2x to the 2nd. So that's what's going to go up on top. And now we multiply that 2x squared to the 3 terms in that blue quadratic. So 2x squared times negative 3 is negative 6 squared. 2x squared times 2x is 4x cubed. 2x squared times x squared is 2x to the 4th. Now we change the signs. So we're going to get a subtraction, and a plus. So now 2x to the 4th minus 2x to the 4th is 0. 4x cubed minus 4x cubed is 0. Negative 5x squared plus 6x squared is x squared. Now I'm going to bring down the 3x and the negative 2. Now I look at the first two terms again. X squared divided by x squared. This one you could probably do in your head. What is x squared divided by x squared? 1. And now I multiply that 1 to all 3 terms in the blue. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. 1 times 2x is plus 2x. 1 times x squared is x squared. Now I have to change all of the signs. It's going to be a negative x squared, a negative 2x, and then a plus 3. X squared divided or minus x squared is 0. 3x minus 2x is 1x. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. Now if I go one more time, x divided by x squared, can I do that? No, it's too small. So this is called my remainder. So here's how you write this answer. You have your front blue that you're taking out, which we know is not factorable with that quadratic or quartic. You took out this 2x squared plus 1, and then your leftovers are your remainder, 1x plus 1. some textbooks just go like this, well, let's say plus x plus 1. Or another way they write this piece right here is they'll go x plus 1 over what you were dividing by. X squared plus 2x minus 3. So either one of those would work. So some books write it as the first way, some write it as the second way. That's how you write your remainder. Are you confident in your long division skills now? Okay. This example I don't want you to write down. So let's say we did the whole problem now. We're going to save ourselves some time so we know how to long divide. What does that negative 7 mean for our problem? When we're done. And it has a remainder. So is this factorable? 3x plus 1 is not factorable with that cubic function. It's a remainder. Tomorrow we're going to expand on it. It's going to help us to get some ordered pairs. All right. The second thing, if you could just look on page 137 in your book, they do a really nice job with this thing called synthetic division. You cannot always use synthetic division on dividing. So turn to the top of page 137. So let's say we try to divide by a factor. Synthetic division only works when you can divide by factors of x plus or minus k. Only works with those. And you're going to like synthetic division. Most students, 99% of the students, would prefer to do synthetic division every single time, but you can't always do it. So if I go back to these previous slides, I could not use synthetic division for this one, because what I'm dividing by is 3x plus 1. It'd have to be like x plus 1. I can't use synthetic division for this one, because I'm dividing by an x squared plus 2x minus 3. I could use synthetic division for this one, because it's x minus 1. I could not use synthetic division for this one, because it's 4x plus 5. I could use synthetic division for this one, because x minus 2. They do a great job of explaining synthetic division. We're going to move on to doing 2 examples, and then we're done with the lesson. So using synthetic division to factor out this x minus 5. We can use synthetic division because it's x, and then it's plus or minus some number. If there was a, let's say 5x here, we couldn't use it. So we're going to fill in this box. Your textbook does not show these placeholders. I like to do the placeholders so that we don't miss anything. So how my placeholders work is I have a cubic function, so I just go in descending order. X cubed, x squared, x, and constant. Now what I do to set up the box is I look at the coefficients of those terms. So the first coefficient of the x cubed is 3. So that's just going to go right underneath that. Then my next coefficient is negative 17. My next coefficient is a positive 15x. So 15 goes there. And then my constant is negative 25. So it is 3x cubed minus 17x squared plus 15x minus 25. So I'm just looking at the numbers. Then I have to factor out, and this is where you have to be a little bit careful. It's always the opposite of that number. So we're going to work with 5. And that's what they call the k. So k equals 5. That's going to go on in front of my box. And then you might want to just put your pencils down and watch what I do next. And I'll give you some time to write it up. I'm going to finish this problem and then I'll stop the recording. So the first thing you do is you bring down the first term. Now anything that's underneath this box is going to multiply to that 5. So 3 times 5 is 15. So that's going to go right underneath the next term. Now the columns is what you always add. So now negative 17 plus 15 is negative 2. So now I'm going to multiply again. The negative 2 times 5. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. So that's going to go right underneath the 15. Now I add them. 15 plus negative 10. 15 plus negative 10 is 5. What do I do with the 5? Multiply to this 5 in front. So 5 times 5 is 25. Now what do I do with the columns? I add. Negative 25 plus 25 is 0. If a number pops up there, that's your remainder. Our remainder is 0. So now you just go one less than the degree. So it's going to be an x squared. So go ahead and write those steps down, and then I'll tell you what the answer will be. So we factored out x minus 5. What we're left with is we took out like an x term, so now we're left with one less x. So instead of this being an x cubed, it's going to now be 3x squared, and then minus 2x, and then plus 5. If you were to go and multiply that back through distribute x minus 5, you'd be back to that original cubic function. I'm going to stop the recording there.